Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about a Tritium-Deuterium Fusion Reaction in Unhinged 1.1.0 from Minecraft 1.5.7. I've tried to make this a little bit compact, and I've actually built it mostly inside the confines of the fusion reactor itself, at least its XZ footprint, not so much the Y. And the reason that I'm using the Tritium-Deuterium reaction in Unhinged is because it is exceptionally difficult to produce endstone automatically or produce enough glowstone automatically to do the helium reaction. We don't have soul shards, so we can't do witch spawners, and we don't have Xeno's reliquary, so we can't automatically create endstone to make our endstone dust. So instead, we are doing the Tritium Deuterium reaction here. So I want to go over the basic supply chain here, and we're going to start at the tritium and work our way back. So we know that our reactor cycle is 128 ticks, so we have to figure out how much tritium we need to produce. So we know that one tritium reaction is 3,000 ticks long, and let's just go ahead and switch over to recipe mode so we can verify that. So we want tritium. Okay, so 150 seconds, multiply that by 20, and that is 3,000. So 3,000 ticks per tritium, and each one is going to take 4 deuterium cells. So with that in mind, it means that without any kind of overclocking, we need 23.4375 centrifuges running. So because I tried to make this kind of compact without much regard to the energy use, we're actually only using 3 industrial centrifuges to make our tritium. So each of these have 3 overclockers in them. This seemed more efficient than running just 2 machines with 4 overclockers. With 3 overclockers we need 2.92, so we're very close on our margin here of how much we need. But because we are making a little bit of surplus, we are limiting these, so we are only sending deuterium into them whenever we have less than 32 tritium cells in our system. And we can look at our axis panel here, and so it flexes up and down over the 32 mark there. So because we need 3 deuterium for each of these reactions, we need 4 deuterium for each of these reactions, and we also need deuterium in our system. It means that we have to make 5 deuterium per cycle, so 5 deuterium every 128 ticks, because again it takes 3,000 ticks to produce a single deuterium. It means that we need 117.1875 processes. So that is pretty substantial. So what we're doing over here, we're using 4 overclockers apiece, which is causing these to use 1280 EU per tick as opposed to the 320 EU per tick being used over here. Obviously, if you want to lay out 118 of them, you can use 5 EU apiece. But just to be compact, we're doing it this way. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we are going to make surplus here because we need 7.32 centrifuges to be running. So each of these, they're just taking hydrogen cells in, and they are producing deuterium cells out of that. To manage this process, we are using 3 routers. So we've got a export bus on our bottom router here, set to export our hydrogen cells, and that's just putting them into slot 0 of the machines. And I am using the bandwidth and speed upgrades here, but you don't need the machine upgrade for this. In this configuration, these are the only machines touching these. We'll look at these in a minute, but these are the only machines that are touching these. So once we've got our hydrogen cells going in, we are extracting from slot 2, and that's pulling our deuterium cells out, and we're just pulling it into our system with an import bus. And then we're extracting from slot 5, which is giving us back our empty cells, and again we're just pulling that out with an import bus. Okay, so that handles our deuterium, but we need to produce the hydrogen cells for our deuterium, and that gives us industrial electrolyzers. So we've got industrial electrolyzers down here, which are generating our hydrogen cells for us, and they're also making a waste product of compressed air cells. The hydrogen cell reaction typically runs in 760 ticks, which means your base requirements are 29.6875 industrial electrolyzers on the line. And if you're running those, just base, you're going to use 122.36 EU per tick per electrolyzer. Instead, we have got, 2 overclockers apiece in these. So we actually only need 7.421 of them. We're running 8. So we've got 1, 2, 3, getting stuck, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 of them down there, which means that we are actually using 1,957 EU per tick on each of these. Yeah, pretty close. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so we need water for these guys. So for that, we're just using aqueous accumulators, and I've got 3 here, 3 there, 3 more under there, and 1 right there. We need a total of 10 aqueous accumulators. Aqueous accumulators make half a bucket of water every second. In order to keep this process running, we need 4.6875 buckets of water a second. Since we're half a second, we're going to produce a slight surplus of water, but we've got 10 of them on the line because we have to produce a surplus instead of a deficit. So with all of this running, we make our water slight surplus. We don't care. It just doesn't leave the aqueous accumulators. We make our deuterium slight surplus. That's okay. We are limiting our tritium so that we don't have a surplus. So we are going to have a buildup of deuterium in our system. I've gone ahead and put a liquid card reader on here, so we can just look at it right over here, and we can see we've built up 195 surplus buckets of gaseous deuterium. We've got quite a bit of helium plasma, and our tritium, we don't really have a surplus of it because we're kind of limiting it. So let's talk about how we're routing everything through our system here. So we've got our aqueous accumulators back here, and let's see if there's one we can see pretty well. Maybe not. Anyway, we've got our aqueous accumulators back there, and they are just pumping into some liquid tesseracts. So each of them go into a liquid tesseract, and it's just set to a water channel, set to always send, and then we've got other liquid tesseracts sent to receive only, so that we can evenly distribute our water between our industrial electrolyzers. So they're always staying full because we're producing a surplus of water. So our industrial electrolyzers, we've actually hooked a storage bus up to the face of each of them. So all 8 of them have a storage bus on the front, and these storage buses are configured to hold empty cells and to have a priority of 64. And the reason for that is that this allows us access to all of the products of it, as well as allows us to put empty cells back into it. And to prevent empty cells from getting hung up in our disk drive, which is hiding here, to prevent empty cells from getting hung up in there and not going back into our industrial electrolyzers when we need them, we've just got an export bus here set to always active and empty cells. So the way that works is it will normally pull from the lowest priority, which in this case is our disk drive, and then put it back into the highest priority, as long as there are at least one empty cell in the higher priority item, because it does group by already has prior to priority. So in the event that we run short on cells in one of these, and we'll see if we can see it happen. Okay, it immediately starts putting them back in because of this export bus here. The other thing that we're doing is because we are producing compressed air cells, we've got a level emitter here, and whenever we have 6 compressed air cells, we attempt to craft empty cells, and that's why we have this whole big molecular assembly chamber here, just to craft the empty cells, craft the compressed air cells back into empty cells, so just to recover those. And there's probably a smaller solution for this, but I just like applied energistics, and surely you'll use this for something else. Okay, so we've got our water. We already went over the routers here, so putting the hydrogen cells in, taking the products back out, and our empty cells just either go back into here or into our electrolyzers or into our disk if all the electrolyzers are full. And then our I lost my mind there. And then our deuterium cells also just come back and sit on our disk. And then over here, as we've already looked at, if we've got less than 32 tritium cells in our system, then we begin crafting tritium cells. Okay, and so if we the way that we're balancing our deuterium and our tritium is this level emitter right here. So we are only pushing deuterium cells into this liquid transposer if we have more than 32 of them in our system. And so the way this is kind of working here is this liquid transpose over here will completely fill with tritium cells. When it does, it won't be able to empty them, and so it won't be a valid receiver for tritium cells any longer. Whenever we have more than 32 tritium cells in our system, we stop producing them. So we're counting on this working fast enough to back up the system and prevent us from crafting any more tritium cells. When that happens, we'll build up a surplus of deuterium cells, and then we'll start pumping it out into here. I wish there were a better way I could think of to do this. My initial thought was to use computercraft to limit the output that way. We were going to use a liquid sensor on a quantum tank or something, and the advanced nuclear information reader, link it to computercraft, do all that good jazz. But computercraft is not in Unhinged, so we kind of have to go with this this backflow system here to keep it operational. That being said, one of the things that you're going to want to do before you get this all powered up is give yourself a really good reserve of deuterium and tritium. Maybe start without the overclockers and all this stuff back here, and just build up a few stacks of each one. That way you can get your backlog of tritium, and you can start getting your deuterium built up. One other thing to look at here, we do have these two liquid transposers here. And they are being powered by Buildcraft electric engines, which are just wired up onto our harness there. Our harness, of course, is pumping 512 EU a tick out, which means that we did have to put the upgrades into all of our machines out here. So they are using both the power upgrade and the advanced power upgrade so that they don't explode off our 512 line here. To keep all this juice flowing, we do need 14 of our plasma reactors, and we're just passing those into high voltage transformers so that we can run 512 across glass fiber cable. We need another 2 plasma generators over here because this reaction does require 4096 EU per tick. So these have to be running all the time to keep it going, which means we're using a total of 16 of our of our plasma generators, which is about half the power that is produced by a fusion reactor. Just take a quick peek over here. You can see that we're pumping this out into a liquid tesseract set to tritium. This is going to a quantum tank and then into a tesseract for deuterium. We're just picking that up on the other side here. So our deuterium is being pumped in, and our tritium is being pumped in, and then we're just extracting. We've got a redstone torch powering this, liquid duct here. So we're just extracting the helium plasma out, dropping it into this quantum tank here, and then pumping that into a liquid tesseract via 2 sides, which then comes out over here to power all of these, and then on top of these 2 here. And just for fun, we've got a Wraith lamp, which you probably wouldn't use on multiplayer server. I don't know if they've fixed the lag that it causes or not, and a chunk loader down there. So that is the full build. Just to go over the machines again, you need 1 Tritium, which is going to take 24 centrifuges. You need 5 Deuterium to make your Tritium and the Deuterium you need, which is going to take 118 centrifuges. You need 5x4 hydrogen cell production, which is going to take 30 electrolyzers, and to fuel that you need 10 aqueous accumulators to produce the basically 5 buckets of water a second. So, and remember, if you're using overclockers, your overclockers double the speed but quadruple the power consumption. So we are using enormously more power than we would be if we were using the full loadout of machines, but with any luck this will make your footprint a lot smaller and hopefully cut down on server lag as well. So if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them below. I hope this is helpful to you guys, and have a great day.